on, then it went back out for a minute, then it came back on, then it went out for a minute, then it came back on, and it just stayed on. It was like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's plumb, yeah. Yeah, we keep ours at 69, our thermostat in the winter, and it dropped down to 62 in that 12-hour almost time frame. Yeah. And luckily, everything was still frozen in our freezer and our refrigerator. I told nobody, I'm like, don't open the refrigerator, and it was still all cold. I was like, you guys lose anything? Oh, that's good.
And it was like no drops.
You ready, dude?
I'm ready, man.
Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the City of Evans work session. First item on the agenda is COVID-19. Got staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, members of the council. Our update tonight, as it always has, starts with a broader look at Colorado and COVID cases. You can see cases, this is per week, have remained approximately steady at about 6,000 for the last few weeks, which is good news. So that trend is staying approximately constant. We zoom into Weld County, you can see that our trend is similar in terms of how it's been relatively steady there at that 300 to 600 or 300 to 500 new cases per week for the last month. So it's not quite at the level that we were last summer, but it is approaching that level before any of the spikes started in mid-October. Going here. So this slide does show the hospitalizations, which is the light blue line, sorry. Had to look for a minute. The one that has actually come down, and fatalities, that's cumulative fatalities. So this graph is always challenging because it is the hospitalizations per week, and then the graph, the darker blue shows the cumulative fatalities. So I think one good sign that we haven't really seen a trend for yet is that solid blue line, fatalities, is starting to level off, which is very good news. This shows the last 6 weeks or so of those metrics as measured by the state. You can see positivity rates. Our goal for yellow is to be under 7.5, which we can continue to be at about 5% positivity rates. Our cases number, which is measured as cases per 100,000 in a 7-day period, that's also continues to trend down. It's been fairly steady, but still trending down, which is good. You can see that we're in the we're still in. I think for the county we're actually in yellow because this is per 100,000. And then the new hospital admissions per day has kind of bubbled along right about that one new admission per day, plus or minus, on a given day. So that's where those stand. They're still trending in the right direction, which is very positive news. Operational update. I know council is very familiar with this slide. Not much has changed yet in terms of our operations. I'll point out that we do have 2 employees out, or we did last Friday due to symptoms and contact with COVID, so on a precautionary basis. I'll also mention that some news, we're trying to work with the Sunrise Health Clinic over at the Tri-Point building to ensure that when the right phase of the vaccination program is available to city employees, which is under the, I believe, fourth stage. The language in the CDPHE rollout is continuity of local government. That I've been in touch with the director at Sunrise. Generously, they have been eager to hold out, to work with the city to hold out the number of vaccinations voluntarily, of course, that our employees and city council would like. Scott Crabb and I spoke briefly, and based on direction from CML and CDPHE, there's a lot of latitude for that language, continuity of local government, and an organization our size. I'm certainly not shy to make the case that really any group of our employees is critical to continuity of local government, especially if there were an outbreak. So we'll have more information for you as we think of how we can do that program. But there will be, the Sunrise Health was anticipating the third to fourth week of March is when that phase of the vaccine rollout should be occurring. So again, we're trying to figure out if we can come up with a way to offer, or to offer this to employees and council again on a voluntary basis for anyone who would like the vaccination who hasn't had it. So we'll be working on that over the next week or so. With that concludes my remarks, Mayor.
Thanks, Jim. Questions on COVID for Jim, or comments? Councilmember Neal?
Yes, earlier this week, I was listening to NHK, and they were commenting on that Taiwan has had total during 1,000 cases of COVID. So they are obviously doing something very right. People are listening to what their health people. And as far as I know, the last I heard when they talked about the school system, they have not closed down their school systems at all. And you compare that with what we're hearing in some of these European countries or another island nation like Great Britain, which is really been hit very hard by it. It would seem that the country should take note of what Taiwan is doing to control this.
Yeah. Thank you, Councilmember Neal. Anyone else? All right, move on to the next one. Next item on the agenda is master plan update, draft master plan vision and value statement, draft economic chapter discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. As Ann joins me at the table, I'll just introduce this work session with some enthusiasm that the master plan steering committee, of which the mayor and Councilmember Mortensen are a part of that team, have had several good meetings and discussions about these various components, various sections of the master plan. And this one's exciting, I think, to me. They're all exciting, but I will say, because of the vision and values, this is starting to address what the council has talked about in terms of narrative, in terms of, telling Evan's story. There's been a lot of talk about how we talk about vision and values. This would be vision and values for economic development, but as that's so key for us right now, I think to the extent we can arrive at some really good, rich vision and values, like I think the master plan committee has arrived at, it'll really help us to start telling that story. So I hope that you'll get into that part of the discussion, give us some feedback, some questions, weigh in on what you think key points of that story are. And then, of course, right along with that, the economic resiliency chapter of the plan. I'll just challenge us with this one to remember, because I've had to remember myself, the master plan sets a long-term framework for Evan's goals and where we want to be. There's a lot of work that's happening. We're all very involved right now with some short-term work, and there's going to be some intermediate planning that has to happen. But I would ask that we all kind of view that with a long-term time frame in mind and weigh in on those goals too. With that, take it away.
Thanks, Jim. Mayor Rudy, members of City Council, this is exciting. This is the first big chapter to come to you on economic resiliency. And then as Jim indicated, the overarching vision and value statements for the overall master plan. And as Jim mentioned, it is a 10-year plus outlook plan. So not everything, even though we have very aggressive staff, not everything will be done in year one, but we'll be making that plan out on how to implement and also how to change and adapt through time on completing these goals. And may I have the clicker? Thank you. So there are 5 vision and value statements, and those vision and value statements were derived by the master plan consultant with help from interviews from you all, master plan steering committee members, as well as interviews with the public. Okay, so the first slide here talks about the overarching vision and values of Evans, and the heart of this is really we want Evans to be seen as a community that's positioned where things are happening, where economic development is happening, where the community is resilient, where people want to live. We're at that crossroads, we're at that confluence where things are happening. And it needs to reflect not only what's going on today, but where Evans wants to go in the future. So this is just that overarching statement. I'm not going to read it unless you want me to read it to you verbatim.
Why don't you read this one, because it is important.
Okay. So Evans, Colorado is positioned at the intersection of everything that makes Northern Colorado one of the most desirable destinations in the nation. We are at the confluence of the South Platte and the Big Thompson Rivers, with parks and natural amenities accentuating our outdoor lifestyle. We are close to everything at the crossroads of US 85 and Highway 34, providing quick connections to this dynamic and vibrant region. And we are proud to be a convergence of opportunity wrapped in the warmth of a welcome small town and multicultural environment. Welcome to Evans, where rivers and opportunities meet. So it's a very friendly, positive statement. It talks about really what we want to become in the future. So if there are any comments on this, then I'll go on to the next one and introduce the 5 overarching vision and value statements. Okay, here we go. So the first vision and value statement. Quality of life within reach, and Evans offers the best of Colorado lifestyle without the high price tag. This can be for any type of development. It can be for the middle up, it could be for the higher home value, it could be for affordable housing, it could be for industrial development, and it reflects everything. We are a business-friendly community. We don't take a long time processing land use permits. The economic development component, there are incentives, there's assistance to help individuals when they're coming into the community. Engineering is efficient with individuals, always working with individuals, our operations staff. So all of those things, when you talk to developers, time is money. It's how can we help lower that price tag to do development in the city of Evans. So then you'll see at the bottom of this slide in all of the 5 vision and value statements, there are going to be priorities that are interwoven into the master plan. And those plan priorities are listed on each vision and value statement, as well as where they are going to overlap with other areas of the master plan. Now you're seeing these tonight, and we are going to ask you to give us your thumbs up or tweak this, tweak that, give us some suggestions. Eventually, you're going to see this all put together in one document, but we're presenting in bits and pieces to you so that we're making sure that we're on the right track. The next is your multicultural hometown. So the goal for Evans is to build upon the existing heritage of the community. We want to be seen as a welcoming hometown with a heritage rooted in agriculture and a lively culture proudly featuring our diverse flavors, sounds, and arts. It's not distinct to one culture, it's everything. Evans is a melting pot. While we may have a high population of individuals that have Latin or Latinx heritage, we also have individuals that have, Eastern European heritage and German heritage. And so we're wanting to embrace all heritage that is unique to Evans. We do have the opportunity with 44% of our population having some heritage to the Latinx community, and that's different than any other community in Weld County. And so there is an opportunity to embrace that diversity, but there's also an opportunity to diverse all of our diversity. Then the next vision and value statement then is redefining work-life balance. Everything that makes Evans, thank you. Everything that makes Evans a great place to live also means it's a great place for business. So we're growing our reputation, welcoming emerging businesses with our talented workforce in a pro-business atmosphere. We've already seen in the past few years a shift in how we're working with businesses, how we're working with developers, and changing that slow and steady steers the ship. And so we have more to do, but we're wanting to start promoting and let people know, hey, we're a good place. Come to talk to Evans before you talk to others. And of course, whether it's easy access to Highway 85 or Highway 85, Highway 34, access to schools and parks, Evans wants to become the community that offers connectivity to amenities and conveniences. We've heard, and this next slide is going to reiterate this, we've heard from developers who haven't come to Evans yet, developers that are here, that an incentive for them to do more and to continue bringing more to Evans is we need our it. We need to find what the heart of Evans is to promote that, but also reinvest in ourselves and create those trails that link all the communities and have amenities here that will pull people here and keep them here. So with that, then, the very last vision and value statement is to be distinctively welcoming. Evans offers a fertile community where you can sink roots, a place to wrap yourself in warmth and pride of calling Evans home. So, yes.
When I first read this, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm a little old or whatever. When you say it offers a fertile community, I'm thinking that if you're drinking the water, you're probably going to have babies. So it just, that's just, drink a lot of water. It just kind of came off like, if you want to have kids, come here.
Okay, well, that's
the
good.
kind of feedback we need.
Yeah, awesome feedback. Why don't we look for
I mean, I know you want to sink the roots here and everything, but fertile community is, yeah.
All right, fine. Well, we'll look for a different word. Is everybody okay with it?
I was fine with
There's
fertile.
a lot of
I knew what it
retirees
meant.
here too. I'm just saying, there's a lot of retirees too, so
Look how we're going to draw.
I don't know how you can.
I'll be running.
Does anybody else have an issue with the word fertile?
But we're going to change
Now.
I mean, I knew. I was fine with it.
Yes,
I
some
knew
aren't
it.
on board with that.
Okay.
Synonym, okay. I mean, synonyms would be fruitful. If you want to use fruitful, high yielding, I don't know, but fertile, right?
Fertile, yeah. That's fine.
Okay, so we'll come up with a different word there. I know some of you said that you're okay with it. Councilwoman Spear brought up
Nurturing.
Yeah,
Nurturing is probably good. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Okay,
Something else I've done.
I've made that note here, and it is definitely,
Done my work for tonight. I'll be
yeah.
seeing y'all.
Must be that
Okay.
nursing background.
Definitely did not
Yeah.
take it as that.
So, and then
Huh?
just, what were you saying something that I missed? I'm sorry. Okay. So again, Evans, where rivers and opportunities meet. It's a tagline for the whole master planning process to show that really we have a lot of opportunity in Evans, and we're worth that look. We really want people to come to Evans to develop, to call Evans home, and to come and stay and grow. So
Let's pause there for just a minute. So, what do you guys think of this? This is that vision and values section. Anne's about to go on, I think, to economic resiliency, but let's just see if this kind of feels right to you, if there are things you want to spend more time talking about.
I think it's fantastic so far the way it is. So.
It's nodding pretty much.
I think, I don't know, I just feel like it does provide some kind of like, I don't feel like it still provides that it factor, like that identity in a sense. I mean, it's kind of like defining things, but I don't know if you're going to come back and kind of somehow provide like the bigger picture of it, because it just feels kind of sectioned off, for me at least, where it's just like you read a book and you see like these definitions for things, but it doesn't really tell me, like, make me feel like there is an identity.
So, and that's a really great point. So these are those aspirational goals of what Evans wants to become. And the aspirational goal, and then every chapter, which you'll start seeing in the economic resiliency chapter, then we'll give principles. There are probably going to be about 3 to 7 principles in every chapter. And those chapters then under each principle will have some action items on how are we going to accomplish this principle, and then how is that principle tied to these overarching vision and value statements. So you're going to see that with the hazard and risk assessment chapter, economic resiliency, housing, commercial and industrial development chapter, tourism chapter, water conservation chapter. Those will all key into then those overarching vision and value statements with specific ways of how are we going to do that. Does that make sense?
It does, but it still doesn't, I don't know. I think for me,
What's missing? Yeah.
I feel like something's missing. Like, it's, again, kind of similar to what we always have within a city. Like, you just have like this framework of things that are kind of thrown out there. And it's like, here's who we are. But I don't think it provides that synergy to me to where I'm like, that's where I want to go. And granted, like I mentioned, you may, with all these other components, provide that to show that you're aligning to some kind of strategic plan. But then that's what it becomes, a strategic plan. Like, this is the goal to be here. But it doesn't provide the feeling, in essence, it doesn't bring it all together for someone to see it without having to have this paper and framework over X amount of years, if it makes any sense. Because it's for me.
Are there concepts that you really see that are not, that you'd like us to
Well,
incorporate?
I guess for me, and granted, it might just be me thinking this, but when I think of, moving forward, I think of having already those tools provided for people to come here. Like, if I'm going to go out to go get that, in essence, for example, in our economic development area, if I want to get that business to come here, here's our plan, our strategic plan for the city, but I need to also have something in hand to let them know, hey, this is who we are, without having to show them this plan of X amount of years. We're going to get there. Because people, it's kind of like, yes, you want to get there too, but you also want to already provide that feeling for the people to come here. And without that, I think we again get lost in words and plans.
Well, I feel like this is a bowl of Cheerios, not just one Cheerio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
eat one Cheerio, move to the next sort of thing. So that's kind of how I like to think of these things when I'm walking through, I get overwhelmed by goals. That's just a personal thing of mine. I get super overwhelmed by the complexity and length. And so I always tell myself that, focus on the one Cheerio, right? And so I kind of feel like that's what we're doing. This is going to be maybe the bulk that holds them. And then I think we can focus from there. So I get what you're saying, but I also think we got to hone in on those and then say, this is how we're living it. And the story will come in the city living this every day, knowing these values, living these values, and moving forward. And I think that's what's going to draw people in. I know for me personally, there are things here we're already living that were the reason we picked Evans as our hometown. And I think we can just continue to focus on that.
This is just one small piece of the puzzle anyway. I have the long line, so this is just the development part of it. And once everything is done and been presented to us, eventually it will all tie in. So, right.
I'd like to hear the rest
I'd
of the
like to,
presentation.
yeah.
Councilmember O'Neill.
Yes, I think the shift in the city's attitude towards business and development is starting to make an impact, hopefully, on the people. People are starting to hear about it and are more willing to take a look at Evans. But it's going to be, to change public opinion about that is going to take a little bit longer.
Thank you. I'm taking notes as you all are talking. All right. Well, let's go on to the economic resilience chapter. Those are important comments, and I appreciate them, and we'll keep refining. But if you all are okay with them in concept, except for any discussion on fertility, we will then move on to economic resilience.
I think we need a work
Sounds
session.
good. Yeah. Okay. All right.
No, we don't.
Staff doesn't need to be there. All righty. So economic development or economic resilience. There are, what happened? Okay. Yes, there are 5. There are 5 principles and strategies. And across the bottom, now with every chapter, what you're going to see in the future is you can see those 5 vision and value statements across the bottom. There are 5 economic resiliency principles and principles, and under each principle, there's going to be strategies, and then out of those strategies, then will come those actions. So the very first item in economic resilience is Evans is going to diversify its local economy. Second, US 85 will be renewed and bolstered as an economic driver for Evans. Evans will create new opportunities for retail growth. Evans will foster a sense of place and enrich its community identity, going back to what Councillor Johnson was discussing. And Evans will leverage local assets and build on its community strengths. So again, it's taking down economic resiliency and how does it apply across those vision and values. And now we're going to develop some more, they're still going to be high level because we've got to be flexible over time to adapt and be nimble, but they do give some direction. All right, so the very first one is Evans will diversify its local economy. And every principle is going to have a why statement associated with it. And this why statement is maintaining and building on Evans' strength as a great place to live in the region is essential to this plan. The principle is intended to focus economic development efforts to be more strategic and effective in responding to changes in the economy. Due in part to the condition of the oil and gas industry with its ongoing boom and bust cycles, diversifying the economy will help stabilize and build municipal revenues to maintain a high quality of life. And achieving greater diversity in the economy will require long-term and focused commitment. So here, that's our very first principle. We're going to diversify. And why are we going to diversify? It's stated in that why statement there. So then moving on to the next slide, we have a series of action items that we're going to be meeting. And we're going to diversify our local economy, and some of the ways we're going to do that is we're going to develop an economic development strategic plan that's going to focus on key economic development issues that will be outlined in the chapter, but Allison then can take this and provide a more meaty economic resiliency plan or an economic development strategic plan. Collaborating with regional partners, including Upstate East Colorado Small Business Development Center, Ames, UNC, and others on a coordinated and regional approach to economic and workforce development. Define and manage incentives and business services, and seek to retain and expand Evans businesses. Explore locations for a community makerspace that can help create and nourish an entrepreneurial infrastructure. Explore opportunities for agriculture, value-added industry expansion, leveraging existing resources in the regional economy. And then on the next slide,
Before
there
you go
are,
there,
oh,
weren't we going to include District 6 with Upstate, Eastern Colorado Business, Ames, UNC? Or we going to include District 6?
we can definitely do so.
I think we beefed that up in the partner. There's a principle about leveraging partners too, so that's, but it should be here as well. Yeah.
Yep, I've got that in there. Thank you, Mayor Rudy. All right, on the next slide, we're still diversifying. All right, engage with local businesses, including Latinx businesses, to seek opportunities to market and promote unique offerings. Monitor and enhance access to local broadband. I know that the city in the past has indicated that the city isn't necessarily wanting to be the driver for broadband, but we need to continue to access what is available, what do our businesses need, do they need it for internet infrastructure. Form partnerships with local businesses, city government, educational institutions to identify workforce development opportunities, and then to celebrate business achievements, especially those tied to previous city support or incentives. And this could take the form of an annual report, celebration breakfast, quarterly meetings with targeted developments or other networking events. And I know the city already does some of those things, but I know ComDev and economic development, we've been talking about having burrito breakfasts for the development community or specific builders, and start promoting what Evans is doing, but being more targeted on that.
And you know if Greeley is still working on some sort of broadband plan?
I know that they are not at this time. They did some analysis, and without trying to paraphrase their work session, they decided it was not probably cost effective right now, that there wasn't a way for the city to make that cost effective at this time.
Thank you.
We're mentioning some other partners somewhere in here, and maybe it's the last bullet that might be appropriate, but I would surely like to have the Evans Chamber mentioned in there too, that we need to work with them.
Yes.
They are in the principle about leveraging local assets.
Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. So I don't have a lot of time left, but we'll go through these. So principle 2 then will be, I know this has been a very special focus of you all in the past couple months. US 85 will be renewed and bolstered as an economic driver for Evans. And how we're going to do this is to invest. Investment follows that vision. So economically, US 85 connects Evans to the world with a major international airport to the south and the university to the north. This is Evans' prime employment center. This is also the southern and northern gateway to the community and establishes the perception of the community by others who are either driving through or just entering for a visit. So again, you all have seen these vision and the action plan in here. Again, taking a look at 85, is there some tweaking that needs to be done with that overlay district? Identifying the costs of improvements and seek opportunities to finance some of those improvements. Establishing investment policy and types of assistance that the ERA can provide to private development, including sample development agreements, for example. And then to follow up with that, to continue working with upstate Colorado to plan and promote Evans and that corridor, complete an inventory of properties, identify catalyst parcels that the city of Evans and ERA have to start acquiring and marketing for investment. Allison's already working on some of that. Continue aggressively marketing ERA properties. Promote industrial and commercial flex space that can promote employment density. Explore potential railroad spur lines, such as down in mountain tracks. And explore pursuing U.S. EPA brownfield grants to aid funding and assessment for redeveloping that vision. So that's on 85, and we all know that some of the work on 85, we're not going to wait until this plan is done. We're going to start working on that. Any other questions on Principle 2?
For Principle 2, can we also somehow provide a way to engage the 85 so we can bring people into our main arterial, so 37? So somehow being able to, because again, 85 is seen as a drive-through highway, and so being able to have them exit out onto 37th into our city would be also advantageous for us.
An enticement.
Exactly.
You bet.
And I think that's kind of where, I apologize, Greg.
Go ahead.
I think that's where my kind of went to is I'm not sure I love the sentence that says establishes the perception of the community. I don't know that it does for me. I mean, 37th does for me more than the highway, only because the highway really is kind of a short. Now, is it a huge thoroughfare and everything? Yes, but can we somehow draw people really into Evans through that thoroughfare? It may establish a perception, but I don't know that I think it does establish the perception of the community.
And I don't know if I think it bolsters an economic driver of Evans. I think more of it will be renewed and it's a gateway to other avenues in Evans, but I don't know if it's necessarily going to be the economic driver of Evans.
I think if we use it as a catalyst in a gateway into our city, then yes, it'll be a driver.
Okay.
Don't they already have some kind of a railroad spur into industrial park?
They do. They have room to expand, and there may be other properties that could support a railroad spur. Yep, good memory.
So additional, you mean put additional spurs off of the.
Yep, additional spurs or other properties that could support spurs.
I just want to say, I think the reason the wording is the way it is on this, just so everybody knows, is that there is a lot of traffic that goes up and down 85, and you guys are talking pulling people into 37. And I think what we're more looking at here is if we can pretty that up and get it where it needs to be, that would be the draw to 37 and to get people in. And that's how I was understanding this statement and the statements in there about the development and everything along there is if we can make that more palatable, we can draw more people in that way.
I think and I hear that as kind of reinforcing Mayor Pro Tem Clark's comment about a gateway instead of a driver.
Right, like I like that it says this is the southern and northern gateway to the community, but maybe instead of and establishes a perception of the community and helps to define the community or something like that. Like, I don't think it is the perception, because I think that's why we're trying to draw people in, and that's kind of where my mind goes on that piece.
And perhaps it's the perception today, but the gateway is where we want to go in the future.
Right, right.
But there also needs to be something that draws people out, like literally off the highway onto 37th. I mean, you can pretty it up and make it nice. People are just going to go straight through and say, oh, how nice. And that's it. I mean, there needs to be something that entices them to exit that highway. What is that?
We've talked about better wayfinding signage. We've talked about really focusing on corners, like having retail at the to pull people off the highway, having some retail at those key corners. I think those things, we've also looked ahead at some of the properties and said, well, is there something more, dramatic that could be put here instead of replacing what's there now? Making something interesting, creating some visual that pulls people off. But those are what we've been talking about so far.
And I think Councilmember Spirit had mentioned some time ago the issue with the traffic light being an issue there. Like, when you're on 37th, like I'm not sure if there's a turning signal or some sort. I mean, honestly, really looking at that intersection there and really seeing if it's something that works in that area and if it has to be redesigned to be able to provide people to exit out of 37th, that needs to be considered, because honestly, that it's a terrible intersection there.
Evans doesn't have anything you could classify basically as a business route through the older part of town, like a lot of communities, and even Platteville has what they can a divide that's supposed to be the business route through the old town or the old part of Platteville, and there's really nothing there anymore as far as businesses, a few restaurants and the schools, and that's it.
Great conversation. If you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and get through 3, 4, and 5 here, because I know you have some other items on your agenda and want to make sure that everybody is heard. Principle 3 is Evans is going to create new opportunities for retail growth. Again, this is talking about the retail tax base. It's a large portion of the revenues. While Evans property taxes are among the lowest in Weld County in Colorado, the lower property tax rate, it puts pressure on revenue from retail sales tax to maintain the level of services residents have come to enjoy. So identifying and securing prime retail locations will ensure the best locations are available when the market is ready to invest. 37th Street is the only arterial with direct connection from I-25 to US 85. It's a primary traffic route proximate to much of the residential needed to support retail development. And then in addition, Evans has multicultural Latinx retail offerings that are unique to Northern Colorado, and that we should be working with all of our businesses to help them grow if they want to grow, and identifying opportunities to promote those businesses. So on principle 3, creating these new opportunities for retail growth, is just identifying where is the best location. 37th Street, then there's these primary commercial nodes at 37th and 23rd and US 85, secondary nodes 11th Avenue, 35th Avenue. Update our zoning code to support appropriate levels of retail development at designated intersections, exploring mixed-use options and neighborhood integration. Create a unique corridor design aesthetic supported by placemaking principles and good urban design. Maybe 11th Avenue, there's a sense that something's happening there, and 11th Avenue becomes the avenue of something. And just looking at all of those different opportunities specific to the location. Create a program promoting the benefits of supporting small and local businesses, and ensure that the city encourages redevelopment and infill to minimize barriers to entry. Continuing on with 3, the multilingual roadmaps. Increasing funding for and to promote expanded participation in the storefront improvement program. Retail will be recognized as an important lifestyle amenity for a well-rounded community. and monitor and address retail development within the framework of the Economic Development Strategic Plan that will be developed. So this is very specific to retail. Other components address that commercial, industrial, and overall economic resilient growth, but this was specific to retail. We'd have 2 more to go through, but I don't know if anybody has something burning that they really
We'll
want
just wait for the end so we can ensure that.
Mayor, if I might interrupt for just a minute, I think this is a pretty important topic. If the council would like, we can probably handle much of the work session on water through other communication. So up to you.
Principle 4.
I just wanted to say Principle 4 was a little hard to read
Yeah.
with background.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let me read it for you. Principle 4.
I mean, I can see it. I just wanted to, like, maybe if you would change that if you were going to put this out somewhere.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Evans will foster a sense of place and enrich its community identity. We've got to find our it. We've got to build our it and promote our it. So establishing Evans' identity promotes a sense of loyalty and pride in the community. It also helps promote Evans as a place to stay and invest. Having a clear sense of identity also helps promote new housing opportunities, as developers are more likely to have confidence in the market when we reinvest in ourselves. So building from our multicultural heritage, we identify, promote, and build a sense of place that will position Evans as a distinct community in the region. That's the overall principle number 4. And then again, here's the principle, then here's some action items. One idea is to develop a multicultural town center focused on bringing people together. Complete a strategic plan for a town center. Explore ways to establish a sense of place where unique economic resiliency drivers support a vibrant and engaging district, celebrating local culture and heritage. Create an Evans urban design plan, identifying an aesthetic character for streetscapes, and complete an inventory of wayfinding signs and explore opportunities to expand the program. I think that one might already be done, thanks to Allison. Recognize the importance of how a sense of place and community identity really does impact a developer's interest in coming to our community. Work with Greeley-Evans School District to ensure that K-12 education remains a positive community identifier and a source of local pride. Prioritize placemaking. Create and fund unique programs reflective of our character. Embrace the Platte River and all of our natural assets to create an entertainment venue, maybe an amphitheater with design that relates to the natural environment and connects to the trail network. Developing a clear branding and communication strategy to share and support Evans' values and effective community promotion throughout everything that we do. Every social media post, every PowerPoint, every presentation, we have to continually promote our brand and our it. Okay, anything on 4? Yes.
I think also when it comes to the it, we need to also include city council, especially our meetings, because I think we need to utilize this platform when there's something that happens in our community to congratulate people. If there's a child at school that got an award, let's bring him in, acknowledge that accomplishment. And I think we as council, as representatives of our community, we need to do better in ensuring that we do that more often, because that creates pride. We don't do that here. And we need to start in order to let our community know that we value their efforts. We value their contributions. We want to highlight them so people can see what they're doing within our city. And not just children, just anyone in general, someone doing above and beyond what they're already doing. We need to, again, highlight them, or the company, the person, the thing that's happening, and be able to recognize people within our meetings, because I think that, again, brings a sense of pride, brings a sense of togetherness, and brings us closer to the people that we represent, and also lets them know that we acknowledge them.
I don't know, I disagree. I mean, I think that if there's something going on with the city, we can focus on the city, but I don't think we need to know that Mark's kid just got an A in math. So I don't want to, bug up the system with that. I mean, now if there's something going on, we have one of our police officers going to Guantanamo Bay or something for training, then, I mean, certainly I want to bolster what we do in the city. But I don't think that we need to, I think Facebook pages and friends, they talk about their children and everything. And I don't know how the rest of council feels about that, but I would certainly like to encourage the city bragging about what we do in the city and what's going on. But I don't think we need to be involved in day-to-day individual.
I'm not saying that it's an individual thing. I'm just saying if someone does something outside of the norm. I mean, there's like for example, like certain schools, Capello, they got an award. We did not acknowledge them. Certain things warrant acknowledgement. Granted, you and I may be in different, we have different views on what that looks like, but that's just my opinion on how we bring that and how we engage our community. And again, that is my perception on what that looks like. I just feel that there's a disconnect, and this is a way to definitely bridge that gap.
So then you've got both ends of this perspective there. So
We'll find something in the middle.
I do like the idea of, we had looked at signage for the city and all of that through many projects. I like the idea of somehow incorporating, especially these, just the little visuals with the stuff into certain things that, maybe at Riverside Park, it's quality of life within reach or something. And then you've got that little graphic that helps to demonstrate that at really prime opportunities for the city. But I think having those visuals and those little taglines throughout the city will be critical, because what I would love is for people to understand that and just say, oh, Evans, here's what that is, right? And here's the taglines. Maybe they don't know them all, but it'd be really great if they started to understand that. And if we can put those little visuals within reach, I think that could help to really bolster exactly how we're doing that.
Great. If I may go on to the next one.
Please.
All right. The very last one is Evans is going to leverage local assets and build on its community strengths. Again, that's going towards finding the heart. It's a diverse community, strong workforce. The community is inviting and affordable. Evans' story needs to be told, and those businesses already here need opportunities to grow. Evans will focus first on supporting growth of existing local businesses with secondary focus on attraction of new businesses. In order to do this, we have several opportunities here: developing an inventory, seeking opportunities to promote, work with Ames University, and building that triad between local government, private industry, and higher education. Work with Greeley-Evans School District on workforce and career training, as well as Ames Community College. Partner with the Chamber of Commerce. Set up business events, work with SBDC, explore strategies for expanding upon and utilizing urban renewal tools, developing a marketing and public relations, communications and branding campaign to market Evans as a place to launch your dream, building that entrepreneurial spirit that then will solidify a business's roots to Evans, because that's where they got their start. And believe it or not, that is the very last slide. So again, I really did try to go through fast. Sorry, Jim. I know I am a wee bit over time. Look at these.
Let's invite some comment from council.
Okay, that's a great idea. Thank you.
I'm just wondering what our next steps are, because I would like the opportunity to digest this and understand more, because I don't while I'd love to have every question and understanding at the tip of my tongue, I certainly don't. What's the plan at coming back to this, or what's our next step in this process?
So the next step is because the vision and value statements are most important for us to get your thumbs up on. Those are going to guide every chapter moving forward. Then the economic resiliency chapter is the very first one. If you want to take the next week, 10 days to review, digest, if you have questions, give me a call. We can walk through them. We can discuss what your ideas and your concerns are. I'll get those back to the consultants. And then what we will do is we will tweak them, but the next time you see them, they'll be in a more formal chapter, probably this fall.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Other comments or questions?
A real quick one. I do like at the end here, it says Evans will focus on supporting growth of existing local businesses with secondary focus on attraction. I think that just kind of needs to be simultaneously going on. I don't think it necessarily needs to be secondary. I think our job is to support the growth and expansion of our local businesses while also seeking, on attraction of new businesses as well.
Anyone else have comments, questions about this?
Well, I also echo what Councilmember Castle mentioned. Yes, I want to know what the next steps are, and I definitely would like to just to be able to absorb everything and really kind of understand it to the point where I can ask better questions and kind of see where your thought process is on all of this. But I do really appreciate you doing all this. I know this is a lot to take on, and to condense it in such a small package and concisely it's a lot. But also, I think one of the last things that I just wanted to say is under, what is it? The 5? Yeah, so 5. Is it 5? I'm not certain. No, it's not this one. It might be under economic growth. Hold on. No, sorry. 3. New retail opportunities. It may fit under there, but I guess what I was trying to get at is just being able to create the grassroots. And I really like the fact that we're really trying to assist with helping with storefronts, because I think that will definitely assist kind of the aesthetic of the city, considering that a lot of the retail stores out there do require just a little facelift. But I also would like to see kind of a grassroots endeavor in that sense, because I know sometimes, and even if it's something as simple as, it doesn't necessarily have to be us getting out there and telling a business knocking on their door, but if we're able to even just send out our brick and mortars, hey, this is a program that we have, or whether it's through social media, if we use those means, just to let people really know what we have out there and what's available to them every so often, if we can even just provide that quarterly. But just somehow having some kind of campaign that we're able to provide those kind of resources to our businesses, so they're kind of aware of that. Because sometimes even if it's mentioned once, it's kind of forgotten sometimes or put to the wayside, because then you have a pandemic that happens and then you forget about it. So that is all. But thank you, I appreciate it.
Anyone else? I just want to thank the committee. They've been working really hard on that. We've had 10 or 12 meetings now at 2 hours each. And that committee's really working hard to try and make this the best they can. Tammy's been there, and former Mayor Oxinger, we have somebody from the school board, former person that used to work here as a citizen. They're all really working hard on this case. Got about 2 more minutes. If anybody has anything for council discussion.
If I can say something just about our snow removal. I've received a lot of compliments on our snow removal. These guys were really proactive. I know it was a big storm. I personally know from trying to shovel out my place with a tractor and a plow on there that it was very heavy and wet. And there's been a lot of damage, a lot of outages, a lot of trees down. But I think our city staff has gone up and beyond what they really needed to. do, and have provided a great service with the amount of work that they've done in this blizzard. So
Yeah, they did a
Thank you.
fantastic job.
I want to echo that too. I want to say a big thank you to our public works, our snow plowers. I mean, literally, they were on top of it. Once, the snow came down, I was able to see, like 29th didn't even look like there was any snow on there. And I think everyone applauded, the city. And I think, definitely Scott, you implemented with your staff, and everyone else that, helped create this, plan for our city. And it was phenomenal. And I think that our residents or, our constituents are very pleased with all those efforts and all the work that was placed into that. So I do appreciate that. But lastly, I do have one more thing that I want to say, that on the 21st, we here in Sunrise Clinic in the city of Evans is having a COVID equity vaccine clinic that is available for currently eligible people, residents that are able to acquire the vaccine. Again, it is up to the person if they would like that vaccine, but it is targeted for Latino community, the Latino community, and as well as people of color. There's like a 25%. 25% of the vaccines are also for our people of color, as well as 75% has been allotted for a Latino community. And that is happening on the 21st. It was rescheduled due to the storm, but it will be happening the 21st, this Sunday from 7:15 till 5 p.m. at Sunrise.
Anyone else have anything? We'll take 3 minutes. We'll start at 7:05.